Starting in 2008, we surveyed nationwide over 500 individuals who were within 6 months of retirement eligibility, and then we watched them over the next year and a half to see if they actually retired. Obviously, we also tried to get a feel for what types of conditions they experienced in their workplace, what kinds of workplace policies and practices were in place, with the simple purpose being to identify the relationship between these policies and practices in place where they work and the likelihood that they were actually going to leave when they became eligible for retirement. Three main factors played a role in predicting the likelihood of retirement upon eligibility. The first one had to do with job challenge, the degree to which older adults felt that their job was able to keep them engaged even after all of these years and to provide them with things that they still found interesting at work. Not necessarily making them work harder, but making them work doing interesting things. The second factor that affected retirement was their sense of support from the organization. And in particular, this had to do with managerial support, the sense that there's a manager out there looking out for me, taking care of my interests, and the organization as a whole is showing care for me. And in conversations with older workers, this also came out, that they felt that they had put in so many years to the organization that this is something they simply expected to get back from the organization, and surprisingly, not a lot of them actually were getting that back. And the final factor that seemed to play a major role was the stability of relations with their cohort. Interestingly enough, we found very strong evidence that as soon as one member of the cohort leaves, there's kind of like a herd effect, right? You see one member of your cohort leave, and my take on this is that you start to wonder, well, what does he or she know that I don't know? And maybe if he or she is leaving, it's time for me to leave as well, which suggests to organizations that there's a real risk of having one person, especially sort of that central person in that cohort network, leaving the organization. When that person leaves, our study found real evidence that others are going to follow. Simply the awareness that the policies and practices that you have in place for the mainstream workforce in order to enhance retention, those policies and practices may not necessarily be the most effective in retaining older workers. There are other factors that you need to focus on. And the same sort of study that we did on a national probability basis, organizations really need to try to do on their own to try to get a handle for the interests of this critical segment of their workforce.